Hi, everyone. Welcome to For Your Consideration. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sterling Hedgpeth. I'm the programming manager for both the DocLands and Mill Valley Film Festivals. And Scales, of course, is the official submission for the Best International Film Academy Award from Saudi Arabia. And joining us here is the director and writer of Scales, Shahad Ameen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's nice to be here.
Um, this is, first of all, this is your feature film debut. Congratulations. It's a
Yeah,
wonderful film. Um,
thank
you had a film, first of all, I mean, having a mermaid film that's steeped in folklore and fable and fantasy is always a very unique experience. And this film is incredibly unique. But you also had a short that played at Toronto called I and Mermaid.
you.
What was your motivation in creating this film, and what, if any, relationship did it have to the short that you did before it?
So, scales for me is, came from a very raw place. If I want to tell story, I always want to tell personal ones. And you might think because it's set, like you said, in this fantasy world, magical and mermaid, that it's not, a reflection of the present or a fraction of reality. But for me, it is. Um, for me, the main story in Scales is, and the most important one, is that of Hayat and herself. That of Hayat accepting her body at the end of the film. It's about a girl who's refusing the changes that are happening to her body, the metamorphosis that she's turning into a mermaid. But in reality, it's a metaphor for turning into, into an adult woman body. Um, I remember when we were like young girls around 8 and 9, the religious teacher in class used to give us this most ridiculous metaphor. They used to say, they used to like put two candies, one wrapped, one unwrapped, and then say, look at the unwrapped candy. It's covered with bugs and it's not good to eat anymore. And but the wrapped candy is protected, nice and sacred. And they used to then ask, would you want to be, a wrapped candy or a non-wrapped candy? And as ridiculous as this metaphor is, it showed us from a very young age that this is how they look at women in the society. Maybe in my society, maybe in every society, but in more hidden ways. Um, so that's why for me that's the most important journey that Hayat takes, that of her accepting a body that they taught her to hate, that they taught her isn't good enough, that they had taught her is weak, and in the same twisted way they taught her that is sacred. They do all of that to protect you. So Hayat, because she only knows what the world had taught her, so she decides to hate that body. She decides to suppress the feminine side and accept the masculine side. And she has to go, full circle in order for her to accept her body with its weaknesses and with its strengths, to disregard the misconceptions she knows of her body. So that's why for me Scales is at the end, even though it has all these mermaids and she's turning into a mermaid, but at the end of the day it's about a girl accepting her body as a woman, accepting being a woman.
Especially showing her courage in defiance to the patriarchy, because her family rejects her. She's considered an outcast even among the fisher clan, the fish hunters that she's part of. And ultimately, you notice that even though she tries to join them, she has a much more intimate kinship with the
Mm.
mermaids she runs into, who were her fellow classmates and villagers before they were abandoned by their own families themselves.
In this question I can go back to actually Iron Mermaid. What, like, I did Iron Mermaid and then immediately I was like, I have to make Scales. In Iron Mermaid, actually the concept might be the same, and it's the same beautiful actress Basima, I love her, but she was younger. But it was about a girl, a young little kid, seeing her father chop a mermaid, seeing her father chop this creature that looks exactly like her, and it was about her finding reconciliation with that. And then after I finished Iron Mermaid, I was like, what a missed opportunity for her to embark in the world, to embark on a journey in the world of men, in the masculine world. Because I feel that's what we do, when they tell you, when you reject, when they tell you to reject something, that's what you do. You kind of reject it. You try and find other ways to be accepted within your community, other ways to fit in, even things that seems wrong to you, you do them. So Hayat does that. She accepts the masculine side. She accepts the new responsibility that's put into her. But at the end of the day, no matter what she does, she can't fit in anywhere, because her true self is, you know, a woman, a mermaid.
And ultimately the final tribute that she shows is giving the mermaid she finds at the end respect with an actual ceremony, a funeral ceremony, instead of just having that her be part of the I guess the fishing community as a food service.
For me, coming to that end where Hayat buries the girl with the fisherman, because I really struggled with the ending of Scales. I was like, oh my God. So we knew the water was going to come back. We knew the water was, going to disappear. We knew that the water, was going to be a symbolism for women. And when it disappears, only the masculine survived. And it's a harsh environment that no one wants to live in, even the villagers. Um, so we always knew of all of these things, but I never knew how I can, I end it. Like, it never crossed my mind that, oh, what if she, buries the girl, because, throughout the film, the father is discarding the bodies of the woman, the human bodies. So he's discarding of them. And she keeps seeing that throughout the film, but by the end she knows that they're not a catch, they're not something to eat, they're human, they're like her. So that moment, as much as it's simple and as much as it's regular and normal for a society such as that, to a girl to be buried finally within the lands of men, and it's kind of reconciliation between the water and the land also. And plus the water come back at the end.
Well, I mean, what's beautiful about this film is its narrative economy. It's a very simple story, but it's told with such delicacy, and there's some wonderful scenes that engage in stillness, that don't have a lot of dialogue, that have just lots of ambiance about the life on the boat, or the life on the water, or the life in the rock quarries. Talk a little bit about how you wanted to create that kind of atmosphere that really engages the viewer, even if maybe not a lot is being said per se.
I'm a big fan of visual cinema and metaphorical cinema. I could have set the film in normal day Saudi Arabia. Maybe that would have been appealing to everyone else. Normal day the issues that we face, the prejudices that women face. I could have done that, but it would have been a story about a girl struggling with her society. It would have been a story that is told. I wanted a story to be felt and seen. I wanted to focus, as I said before, on that journey, on the journey of the changes that are happening to her body, on the fight that Hayat has with herself. Because for me, that's the most important fight. The one you have to accept yourself, then society's acceptance come. Then you don't care about society's acceptance. Then you khalas, when you accept yourself, that's it, that's done. So for me, that was the journey. That's why I didn't put it in normal day Saudi Arabia. The journey, I wanted it to be this immersive experience that we take with Hayat until she does all the wrong. She accepts the masculine, until she goes back full circle. And I wanted everything to be seen, those changes, like you fear, like a girl suddenly, your body is, when you're suddenly a little kid in a normal society, you're just a little kid. But when your body turns into a girl's body, suddenly it becomes a temptation. Suddenly it becomes forbidden. Suddenly you don't become a little kid anymore. But in your brain, in Hayat's brain, she was still a little kid. So she, in a way, she doesn't understand why society is treating her differently. And I wanted all of these emotions to be seen, to be images, images, you don't forget them, words. And we've talked about it so many times, the issues of girls in society, but I feel we've never seen them visceral. The change is visceral. You see it in front of you, and you get to feel it, feel the change that Hayat is going through. So you get to feel it with her. And for me, that was the most important part of, Scales, making it as visual as possible, making it a journey with Hayat that you're taking with her. You don't get distracted by other things. That's not the point, the entertainment of the stories, what's happening with the fishermen or what's happening with the other people. No, the story was a story of contemplation, of Hayat accepting the body that she's born in with all that comes with it.
And certainly the film is as stark and as shocking as it is in so many wonderful ways because of your choice to shoot in black and white. What exactly motivated you to do that, and what kind of things did you run into, either creative or technical challenges, by making that choice?
We actually didn't film the film in black and white, so it was filmed in color. But in the grading room, we decided to switch it to black and white. Although the film in colors looked beautiful. I mean, that beautiful terrain in Oman where we filmed in in a small village in Oman next to the stretch of Hormuz. Wow, beautiful location. And it looked gorgeous. Like every time you'd look at it, the water and the rocks, and at one point we were like, this is not looking like the dry film. This is not looking like the harsh world we want Hayat to live in. It's looking like a fairy tale, and we wanted to take that fairy tale look away. We wanted it to look more harsh, more dry. We wanted to build a separation between the world of the mermaid and the world of the men. We wanted it to be a black and white world, where these girls find a reason to survive. She grabs onto life. And plus we wanted to give it this timeless quality that the colors was putting it in a more kind of modern light. So we wanted to give it that timeless quality, and we wanted the harshness and the dry rocks to be shown, and we didn't want it to look beautiful and magical.
Yeah, well, certainly the
black and white worked perfectly for that.
Perfectly put. Yeah, the reflections on the water, or the rock quarries with the sharp contrast really make the film so memorable in all the different kind of compositions.
That's awesome. Thanks.
You were saying, we were talking a little bit earlier, that Hayat means something specific.
Hayat means life, as direct as this metaphor is, but I wanted this metaphor to be very direct. When I made the film, I was frustrated that I felt not everyone around me is appreciating the film starts with a father calling out for his daughter, meaning life, and it ends with a father calling out for his daughter, meaning life. And the film was always about a father choosing love over tradition, choosing his family over his culture, choosing what we normal human beings should choose every time. But unfortunately, because of prejudices, because of things we've learned from the past, we forget love, we forget family, and we choose tradition and culture even over our children and our family. So it was always a film about the sanctity of life and how important it is, how more important it is, to than anything else.
Well, certainly it shows a sharp divergence with the idea of superstition too, which runs throughout the film, which runs throughout the villagers. And you can tell that it's almost as if the sacrifice has to happen when the girls are infant, because when she grows up, the men are still scared of her. They don't know quite how to deal with her. They are afraid of confronting her. They treat her badly, but at the same time, they still show a certain deference not out of hostility, though there's a lot of that, but just out of fear. They're afraid of her and what they see her becoming.
It's so funny. That's the contrast we were talking about before. It's like you're sacred, but you're not allowed to, I don't know if I said that before, but there's an Arab word there's an Arab word called harim, which basically means woman in Arabic, but a different word for woman, and it means sanctity. So it's even, they call you by that. So they kind of like, it's very funny where they kind of tell you, no, you're not lesser, you're actually more. That's why you're not allowed to do certain things. And I always felt that it's because in a very weird way, society feared women, And I can see it nowadays of how much they fear the change that is happening, the awesome change that's happening in Saudi. They fear, they're like, oh my God, women can drive, but what are we going to do now? They're going to take over. They're always afraid of what they might become. Even if they're not doing anything, they're afraid of what might they become. So that's why I wanted the mermaids to also be kind of like this antagonist, protagonist creatures. You also don't know where they stand because they're part of the problem. They come and take the girls also. So I always wanted to that contrast to be highlighted. It's something that we give away, that we sacrifice, but it's also something that we fear very deeply.
Yeah. What has been the reception of the film? Did it get any kind of theatrical run in Saudi Arabia? And what was the reaction?
Yeah. We played in the theater for 2 weeks maybe, and it was a good reaction. We got a lot of hate sometimes for it being a feminist film, and what more do you want? You can drive now, and I always say yes, because that was the deep issue. It's not how you view. The deep issue is how you view women in the society, not problems of driving or those problems. It's amazing that they're getting resolved, but for us we need true healing. We need to look at women differently, and it's a big part of the reason I made the film, for them to see how the consequence of this continuous treatment. And so we got people who loved it, who understood it, boys and girls, because at the end of the day, it's not just a story about a girl accepting her body. It can be applied to a boy accepting his body in a very strict community. It can be applied to whether males and females. So I have the audiences who love it, who love how it's treated, but we also have the audiences who are like, what more do you want? Stop it with all these films about women, stop appealing to the West. And that's the last thing on all of our minds. I think that what we want to appeal to you is, we want to appeal to you, for you to understand what's going on in your society, for you to appreciate different stories, even though they might not relate to you, but they relate to other people in your society.
Right. What are you working on next?
I'm actually not directing anything at the moment, but I am writing scripts for another director. It's kind of historical, so different, not magical realism or anything like that.
Well, again, it's a fantastic film.
No girls in the story, so people will be happy. I'm kidding, there are, but it's a male story, as they always say. They always have to ask, is it a female or a male story? And I'm always like, you never ask male directors, is your story a male story? But for some reason, when you as a woman direct a story about a girl, it has to be put in a box. It's a story about a girl. It's a female story.
Well, ironically, because almost the entire cast in your film is male.
Yeah.
She's up against all of them, and they're all fantastic performers too.
They're amazing. It was incredible working with all of them.
How many were professional actors, and how many were just people that you found that were just perfectly?
So Ashraf Barhoum is the beautiful Palestinian actor. He played Amir, the headhunter. And Yaqub al-Farhan is a beautiful Saudi actor who played the father. Fatma Ta'i, she's a great Emirati actress. She played the mother. And what else do we have? And we have, and the rest and Abdulaziz al-Shatian, he played, he's gorgeous in the film. He's like the leader of the boy hunters, Yasser. So he's from Jeddah. He's like from my town, so we brought him. But the rest are all people from the Khasab, from Oman, from where we filmed. So all the little girls, it was amazing. We're like, the whole village was working with us. Like even the extras, they were acting as extras, but they were also our boat triangulars, and they're actually fishermen. And yeah, so only like maybe 6 actual actors, and the rest are all fishermen from the village or people who live in the village.
Well, the logistics of working in or around water are always infamously difficult. How long did it take for you to shoot the film?
It took us a month and maybe 32 days. We wanted, of course, much more. And as you said, I know of horrific, because I shot, also I mermaid near the water, and there were moments where it was a traumatic experience, but I was not, with scales. It was 32 days on a boat. You don't feel at the end, you're like, I'm losing the line. Like our continuity girl was like, where is the line? I don't see the line anymore. Like the boat kept moving. and just getting to dry the people in and out of the water. Basima was so afraid to jump in the water at night, so Basima built up a lot of courage to do all of like her work. She got to be buried under sand. She's like, I don't want to be buried in the sand. It's like, you have to be buried in the sand. And she got to jump in the water at 2 a.m. She's afraid. That's her fear. She did it. So she overcame a lot of fears during this film. No, but it's funny, like all of my mentors like warned me. They're like, you have to avoid the 4 B's when shooting your first feature, like babies, boats, beasts, and another B, I don't remember, but another, and I had them all. And I was like, if I'll do something, I'll challenge myself. I'll do it to the end. But it was definitely very hard and traumatizing.
Is Iron Mermaid available online to watch somewhere?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. It's a wonderful film. We really appreciate you sharing with us, and we really appreciate you joining us. And good luck with all of your projects, and have a really wonderful new year.
Yeah, thank you so much. You too. Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasant conversation.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you.